Just wanted to come and introduce myself as an introduction to my new YouTube channel. So my name is Tony Joyal, married, 3 kids. My oldest daughter is 19, my son is 17, and my youngest daughter is 15. Became a maritimer about 7 years ago, and from Quebec originally. Grew up in Quebec for the first 40 years of my life, except for 1 year when I lived in Calgary, Alberta. Since we moved to New Brunswick, a lot's changed. It's been fun, it's been challenging, it's been in some ways a culture shock. So having grown up in Quebec, I grew up as a pastor's son, and the church that we grew up that I grew up in, and my kids grew up in till 7 years ago, was a church called Le Chemin in Gatineau, Quebec, and where I was always very involved. My dad founded that church 40 some years ago, and since then, I mean, it changed a lot, as any growing thing should change. So I love change. It was a non-denominational church with somewhat of what became a big African influence, which anybody that knows me knows that I love very much that aspect of Le Chemin. And one of the big things was that in 2001 I went to Africa. I went to Burkina Faso and spent 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks had a huge impact on my life, so much so that 27 years later, once in a while I still get homesick for Africa. Love the people, love the culture. Often I think I was born on the wrong continent. Anyways, I had a blast growing up in this church, and I was always very much involved in church. I was always part of the worship team, and obviously it became very exciting once I started playing with Africans. So that's many years of my life experience in church had that kind of influence. And then coming to New Brunswick, a big part of the culture shock was how the culture here is kind of like a Christian culture. So in Quebec, basically, most are still first generation or maybe second generation non-Catholic Christians, if we could put it that way, which when you leave the Catholic Church, often they were shunned back in the day. And so it was always pretty dramatic, the effect that it would have on the person leaving the Catholic to become a Christian. So culturally, it was very different than here in New Brunswick. My mom's from New Brunswick. She grew up Pentecostal, so the church that she grew up in, that I spent my summers going to, was very much Pentecostal, so that was always very comfortable to me. But when we moved here, we started going to a Baptist church and fell in love with the people. But maybe needless to say, culturally it was, even church culture, it was quite different than what I got used to. So church culture is very different than what I grew up in. But it's been definitely an eye-opener. So you'll see that as we go, I'm now starting a YouTube channel. And the reason I'm starting a YouTube channel is as you'll get to know me, you'll see kind of to understand kind of where I'm coming from foundationally, is I have this thing called ADD, attention deficit disorder, which has strengths and weaknesses. So obviously this morning I did a deep dive on what ADD was and how to best explain it. Strengths: hyper-focused. I can get very hyper-focused. It's hard. It's like getting a train moving, but once I'm gone, I mean, it's hard to stop. Then I learned this new term called divergent thinking, meaning not linear. I don't necessarily think systematically. I connect dots. So I have many interests, many different things that I study, and often I connect dots where, like, it's amazing how many things actually connect. For instance, like when I'm talking about something in the Bible connects from Genesis to Revelation. There's so many. I mean, as obviously, as we're going to be looking at these at many questions, we'll see how many things connect. And so anyways, divergent thinking, it helps me connect a bunch of dots. Enthusiasm, high energy, curiosity, this very much defines me. So that defines some of my strengths. Weaknesses that also come with it is procrastination. So that one's always been really tough, because things that I know I need to do and I need to start and really want to get out, as far as like information and teachings and things that I'd love to share with people because I think it could be very beneficial, often I procrastinate. Therefore, this is why I'm super excited to be starting this YouTube channel, because now I don't have to wait for a specific time to sit down with an individual. I can, boom, put it online right away. The other thing is, same idea is whenever, so my memory. So when I make a connection, I hear something that I'm super excited about. If I don't talk about it right away, boom, it might disappear. And then I might remember it a few months down the road. And when I do, it might not be as clear as it was right now. So my memory, so that's why this channel is also going to be really helping me. Also, time blindness. When it comes to being on time, that's always been a struggle, because often I'll start working on something and boom, it's disappeared. I've lost all track of time, and so when it comes to starting something or moving on to the next one, get stuck. So that's why I'm super excited about getting this YouTube channel going. The other thing is, I can be, so in the negative sense, depending on who's hearing me and a bunch of nuances, I could be quite intense. Sometimes intense frustrated, intense excited. Sometimes, if you don't know me well, or sometimes because you know me well, yeah, they can sometimes get mixed up to being intense, overwhelmed, annoyed, frustrated. Sometimes when I'm talking about something, I can get a little intense, and sometimes it can be a bit much. So keep that in mind as we go, and in the same way that I want to be gracious and understanding where somebody's coming from. I appreciate your understanding of where I'm coming from. I also understand that I don't fit necessarily with everybody. Often, most of the time, like I want everybody to like me, but I don't necessarily click with everybody, and basically this is also an aspect of YouTube that I think is going to be great, because if you don't like me, if you don't like how I talk or what I'm sharing, just keep scrolling, right? So it's all good. But if you're sitting with me, I'm happy you're there, and I'm gonna love chatting with you. It'll be great getting comments from you. Different interests that I have, different things that I'm going to be talking about, might be through different channels. We'll see how that develops. But most important one is Bible. I love talking about the Bible. And religion. I've studied and lived in, grew up in, understand very well religion, Christianity. Also, in the past 10 years or so, I've been studying a lot of Judaism. And so I know these subjects really well. And then my main focus has been separating what is scripture from the Bible. And when I say Bible, I'm talking Genesis to Revelation. And so separating what is Bible from what is tradition. And that is Christian tradition, or even Judaism, Jewish traditions, versus what is scripture. The other thing that I love and get very excited about is missions. Been on a few missions trip a long time ago, and I'm very much looking forward to getting onto more mission trips, as it's something that does get me very excited. Love being able to affect people's lives and help them know God better, and through different cultures. I love cultures, so that's also something that I'm quite passionate about. Parenting. So I'm not going to give many details about all these things, but I will as we go. So parenting, finances, farming, counseling. I love tiny houses. That's something that excites me, and it's got to do with, again, connecting dots. You'll understand that as we go. Business, psychology. I love to see that spark in someone's eyes when they get it. So that's going to be things that I'm going to be really excited about. Really excited about sharing with you. So I want to invite you to join the journey. Contact me, write comments. I'd love to. I'm going to be asking questions. I'd love to get your questions and break them down and have these great discussions. So there'll be more to come, and a lot more breaking down many of these points and teachings, Bible teachings, and discussing a bunch of stuff that interests me, and I hope they interest you too. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.